Infiltrate Radio.
All right, so welcome to Infiltrate Radio. Today is, what is today's date? Sunday, May 5th.
Cinco de Mayo.
Cinco de Mayo.
It is
Wow.
Cinco de Mayo today. So on the show today, we've got some rock stars here of the alcohol world. So we've got Zamir Goda, aka the Peacemaker. The Peacemaker.
Welcome to the nightmare.
Making peace everywhere he goes.
We've got Courtney Crocket, the traveling cocktailian. And we're going to have Chris Carlson on as well. Also, the spiritual advisor to Mr. Zamir Goda.
Chris.
So we're also here at the, let me see the shirt again. I keep forgetting the name of it. It's the Great American
International Competition.
Which is a strange name because it's a Great American International
Exactly. It's like
competition.
very confusing. But I'm not sure who is making America great again. Definitely not me.
Right.
It's just
No,
I'm invited.
I think we all are.
Yeah, you are, because you're bringing America the Russian vodka
Yes.
that we've all come to know and love. So
No collusion.
No collusion. Thank you, sweetheart.
Okay.
But let me make it clear. Patrick,
Yeah.
it's not Russian vodka imported to the US. That's the whole uniqueness of this.
So it's made-
It's Russian ingredients, Russian unique recipe from Russian czars
Inspiration.
created here. So it's the whole idea is Moscow born, Moscow in Russia.
Sure.
New York grown. So that's why I'm New York State.
Oh, excellent. So it's
Yeah.
actually a New York,
American
New York made,
vodka.
which is fantastic. Now, I have tasted this in the past, but it's been a while since I've had some. So maybe, I mean, it's 5 o'clock somewhere, right? Is it even 5 o'clock here? I think it is
It's
now,
pretty
right?
close. Close
It's
enough.
Sunday.
I mean, you guys have been drinking since what, 8
Yeah,
a.m.?
we
I
covered
think
the
we started
church
at 8 o'clock
service.
this morning.
I think we repented at church service in the morning. Look at Court,
Yeah,
she's
yeah.
well, approved.
I'm on the way of being fully lubricated.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So would you mind pouring us a little bit?
Yeah,
here,
that's
Zamir?
what I'm here for.
And just, I guess, tell us a little bit about like what made you get into wanting to make a vodka? I mean, is it something you've always wanted to do, or was it?
Yeah, that's a long story. Are you
Yes,
with us?
please, come
I can't
on.
do it in Russia. Superstitions. I can only do it when you are grounded, never in
Heard.
the air. Bad luck.
Heard.
Yeah. So, where should I start?
Well, I would like
Not-
to apologize first of all. When we started on Friday, this bottle was full. We are at about a third now, and I take responsibility for at least 2/3 of that being gone.
She promised that there'll be much more than 2/3 for the
Oh, right. So-
Sunday gig, but
Well, you had to make a little piece. Was there a
see,
lack
with
of?
Well, I
women-
had to,
with
had to
women
make
trust-
sure that everybody tried it.
trust
too.
but verify. Yeah, good. Thank you.
Trust but
So back to 1980. How old were you in 1980? my
I was
friend?
born in 1980, so that was the year I was born, Zamir.
So you don't remember much, correct?
I don't, not
Okay.
a lot, a little bit.
So
No, I don't
three
remember.
things you should know about 1980. December 1979, Soviet Union brought their troops to Afghanistan in kind of a operation to help local Afghanis against the totalitarian regime.
Right.
And definitely they set up the coup d'etat and brought their own guy from Czech Republic who became a new Afghan president, Babrak Karmal. A big mess started in the West, kind of like now.
Yep.
So I think it was Reagan, probably.
Reagan,
Or Carter,
Reagan was actually was
Yeah.
elected in 1980.
Yeah. But then it was probably Carter before him who
79.
kind of said, we will boycott the Moscow Olympics. So the whole thing,
Yep.
started. It coincided with Zamir, the peacemaker, being a fourth-year student at Moscow Teachers Training College.
Oh, really?
Meant to become a teacher of English, to bring peace through knowledge of English, correct? But due to some force majeure situations, like I mentioned, the Soviet government decided to make use of free labor, basically like students who spoke some good English, as interns to be sent to different developing countries. So 5 friends of mine, including myself, like remember the great movie 12 Friends of Owen, no, what's his name? Like Ocean's 12 Friends? What was the?
Ocean's 11?
Yeah.
Are you talking about?
I mean,
Are you talking about the Rat Pack people?
no, the what's his name? The
12
guy
Angry
who
Men.
came up with tequila. brand. Chris, what's the movie star?
Oh, George Clooney.
Yeah, George Clooney.
Yeah,
What's,
George Clooney, yeah, so.
what's the name of this? Like,
Ocean's 11.
It's
Yeah, it
Ocean's
is
11,
Ocean's 11, yep.
yeah.
so Zamir plus 4 friends were selected as top achievers to be sent to different countries. So I ended up in Iraq as translated the hydropower station based in northern Iraq. Have you heard of Kurdistan, Patrick?
I have,
Kurdistan.
yep.
Yes, oh, of
Definitely
course.
Courtney knows where it is. So I was in the middle of nowhere, basically mountains, donkeys, no women. I mean, there are women, but you cannot look at them, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Not to be.
You could always put
Was
lips.
this
And
before,
lipstick on a donkey.
prior, was this prior to Saddam Hussein taking over?
That's what I'm coming to,
Yeah.
exactly. You see, the Muse IQ is unlimitedly
I'm just a
high.
history dork. I
That's
mean,
why I'm worried about Nina. So it was April when I landed in that amazing part of the world where everything was available, unlike Moscow, Russia.
Yeah.
Food was not always available in Moscow.
Yeah.
Clothes, chewing gum, no. So for me, that was the first time out of the Iron Curtain. So I was hungry and thirsty for more experience. But it was still communist Soviet Union, so there were always limitations. Where
Yeah.
to go, what to do, people keeping an eye on you, reporting on your interaction with locals. There were many foreigners at the same hydropower stations from Germany, Lebanon, Egypt, because the Iraqis were rich. They could afford hiring people from all over the world
Yeah.
and basically doing nothing, just being there. So to cut a long story short, the first couple of months were amazing. I bought my first jeans.
Pair of Levi's.
I bought my first chewing gum, which was a problem. And
What flavor was it?
Not existing.
Mint?
it was a Wrigley's orange, I guess.
So you
something
remember
like
it.
Fresh. Yeah. And I bought my first, you remember like Walkman? There was like kind
Sony
of
Walkman.
boom. Yeah,
They had just come out around 1980.
exactly.
Mhm.
So I was like cool
That was a
guy.
big. That was a big thing.
I was only 22, I guess, or 23. But everything has its happy ending and happy and not very happy. So Saddam Hussein, fuck him, unleashed the war on Iran in
Yeah.
September 1980. If you remember, in 1979, probably you were born a year after. right?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
The Iranian Shah was ousted, correct? So Muse will confirm that. And the Islamic clericals took over and started to use, Chris, you could stop, yeah, close the door, please. And they started to use American Phantoms, whom the Shah had bought before, to drop the bombs at peaceful Zamir whereabouts of hydropower station.
While you were
A
there.
week after, yeah, the war started. So it was no fun when you just see the planes through the
Yeah.
big windows of sixth-floor office of Iraqi hydropower station, and the sooner and the quicker you run down to the ground floor, the more chances you are to be alive, right?
Right.
No fun. So I was a good runner and fast one. I used to play soccer at that time, wanted to be a soccer player, but didn't work out for technical reasons. So
Technical reasons. What are the technical reasons?
I'll
I
tell
think
you
there were
later.
bombs
You
being
weren't good?
I'll
dropped.
tell you later. Patience is a virtue, Patrick.
Right.
Let the Oscar prizes be evacuated
Yeah. So,
first.
yeah. Anyone who's listening, we've got some noise going on just because we got the competition moving
Yeah, the
some
Oscar
awards out
prizes,
for some good
big, but
booze. So.
Thank you, Christopher. So evacuation started. So the people who were employed from Russia and many other countries, most of them, were evacuated because it was dangerous. But Zamir was stuck on the contract, which was called technical assistance, which meant 24 hours, 3 Russian engineers and myself as an interpreter were kind of needed on the site in case something happens to reactivate the power station, right?
Right.
So that there is power.
Sure.
When there is power, there is heat.
Yeah.
There is conditioning, fridges, otherwise you die.
Right.
It's basically very
Was it-
hot
is it-
summer.
Okay. So
It was
hot
not
at the
desert
time.
because I was lucky to be in the north of Iraq, but otherwise it would be like the end of life, basically.
Right.
So, 3 colleagues and myself, they were about my father's age, like 45, 50 at that time, would tell me, Zamir, you have an option in life to survive this war situation. So like what? No women, no booze, it's a Muslim country. So
Yeah,
what do we
that's-
do? but you are a human being, right? You have to look into my eyes.
Well, I'm half.
The first option was Christopher
I'm a bit of
to
a
fuck a donkey. What do you think Zamir would answer to this option?
Well-
The Muse, what do you think?
I would hope you would say, thanks, but no thanks.
Yeah, maybe next time, right? Kind of.
Well, maybe
not
if-
immediately.
If it's dressed up nice.
Yeah, to
got- My
marry,
My question,
to
my
marry,
question,
to
did
marry
you
a
have any
local.
lipstick for the donkey?
Thank you. To marry a local Kurdish young lady,
Yeah.
which means then you're allowed to make love, correct?
yeah.
Not before.
Sure.
It's very strict there. I would probably not consider it as an option same way. And the third one was to do the moonshine, to keep your sanity,
Yeah, yeah.
right? So that's how I got involved. That's the short answer to the question
Of how you
on
started
how
making.
to make good vodka.
Huh. So where were you making it? You were making it like
Under the
in-
bed.
Under the
Because
bed.
we were not allowed to do anything, right? Because people were reporting on all
I mean,
vacations.
you were distilling it though, right? So how is that? Or no?
You,
is
you
it-
know a lot, young man.
yeah.
So you know the word distilling,
Yeah,
right?
so how-
So let me
how
just give you a crash
on earth
course.
did you do
Which
that?
you could repeat tonight and remember Uncle Zamir with best compliments. So what you really need is sugar,
Okay.
water, the better yeast, which my colleagues brought from home because they were expecting force majeure. The Russians are always
Yeah.
waiting for the worst situation to do the fun things in life.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if you can't make that, at least you
And
can make
charcoal.
bread.
You could basically use the, there's like in any pharmacy, the black tablets for your diarrhea. Just, like
Yep.
filter your stuff. So that's 4 ingredients.
So I have a question. When you're talking about that kind of process, I would imagine without the proper equipment, you're essentially doing a fermentation like a beer, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So you're creating a beer and that you're then filtering over charcoal. It may not be exactly what we have in front of us now because you didn't have
Exactly
the
not.
option of distillation.
Oh, so it
Because I
wasn't.
didn't have the columns.
But you did have enough ingredients to
you.
create something that would keep you from going insane.
That's why Muse is with us. I don't need Muse, who is the model of the world,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
She has no brain. This one, delivers the goods, right? If I cannot do it for technical
So
reasons.
well, I think this probably tastes better. The vodka that you just
This one
poured
is-
us that
is
we've
the
been
top
drinking
notch.
Tastes much better than.
Look at Muse.
What was
I will
going
say,
on?
I will
She's been
say,
around the block for quite some time, right?
One of the not to break in, but one of the conversations we had on Friday when we were drinking this vodka was being a bartender and being inundated with numerous products. I mean, which are fine,
And the name of the vodka, just for everyone listening too, is Zamir vodka.
Because it's a slogan, it's not my name. It's no ego, it's just peacemaker. Zamir means I am peacemaker.
I did hear about that
Yeah.
your mom named you, right?
Yeah.
And what is your full name is not just
Yazamir,
Zamir,
which
right?
is even more
Say it again.
narcissistic. Yazamir, I am for peace.
Yeah.
I am for peace, yeah.
That's
So like there are no mistakes.
amazing.
Like I said, the reason why there is such a minimal amount left in the bottle is
It's not because we're all alcoholics.
no, not at all. But we're sitting here and we're drinking this, and as someone who is constantly being fed different spirits and being, attempted to be sold different spirits, one of the things I told Zamir, I was like, in all honesty, this might be the smoothest, most
It is
approachable
super-
vodka I've ever tasted.
Super, super smooth.
It's not something you have to mix with anything.
No.
And I would say that most of the vodkas, including a majority of the major brands that people would recognize on the shelf, I can't drink it just on the rocks or just by itself.
Just neat,
I
yeah.
need to put it with something. And this bottle is gone because all we did was sit at the table
We sipped.
and sipped this vodka throughout the evening.
I can show you.
So
what
typically
sipping
too
is.
with straight out of the bottle.
Just
So
straight
do
out
you-
of the bottle.
So I had a friend when I was younger. She was Russian, and I used to drink with her father all the time, older guy, and he used to have caviar with him.
Of
He'd have
course.
some pickles and some sort of like a rye bread. Is that typical like Russian, like what you do with
We were
vodka?
I'm
discussing.
really glad that you're getting to this
We
point.
were discussing the fusion, so that's talk how we connected actually with the Muse, not just for the fun of it. So one of the big missions I envisage for the end of the year is to complete my autobiography book, urged by Anthony Bourdain 6 years ago.
Yep.
So
And
I'm
so-
like 10 months pregnant, so
For
I
the-
really need to deliver.
Yeah, for those people that don't know, so Zamir was kind of a regular guest on No Reservations with
More like a
Anthony.
travel companion.
Yeah, on Anthony Bourdain show, and you were you a producer too? Sort
I was
of,
field
on it?
producer when he was in Russia and Europe,
Okay.
both on camera and field producer,
Yep,
right?
yep.
When
Yeah.
in the US, I was only on camera talent, as they call it.
Gotcha. So like when you were over there, you were basically like making things happen when
Yeah.
when you couldn't get shit to happen.
Because I knew what
Pardon my
he
French.
wanted to do, right?
Yeah.
Unlike many other people.
Yeah, yeah. And did you do an episode in Russia? 'Cause
Three.
I-
Three
Three of
times.
them. And so when you're filming in Russia, yeah, are there things that
You really want to know?
I do want to know? I
Okay.
want to know like what.
So we had dinner with someone who was an opposition leader in February 2014.
I'm going to
and,
pour
uh,
myself more
please, yeah.
vodka.
I mean, please.
You paid for it, so now you could just, you keep it. I'll sign it for
Oh,
you,
no,
by
no.
the way.
Tip it up a little bit more. Tip it up a little
Yeah?
bit more.
You see?
Yeah.
The
Okay.
muse is very demanding.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
There we are.
She's a saucy one.
Yeah. She knows what she likes. That's what I like
All right,
about
sorry.
her.
So yeah, there were some.
Yeah, so we had dinner with Boris Nemtsov, and he was very open and articulate about corruption and all the bad stuff happening under Putin on the eve of the Olympics. And 5 months after, he was assassinated.
Everyone
So-
take a pause. That
Yeah.
that was a real thing.
So you
that
just
happened.
think about, in memory of Boris, we don't chin-chin when we remember
yeah.
someone.
God damn, that's so good.
Thank you.
I just can't.
You don't need actually food. You don't need anything.
Well, so one of the things, I don't mean to break off, but one of the things that we discussed about vodka specifically is, so a little bit of my background being a bartender.
Please, yeah.
Yeah. A lot of times when you go out and you see any cocktails that are put on the menu, you see these cocktails have ingredients that kind of mask vodka. They use it as a base, but they're not really providing ingredients or flavors that highlight the vodka itself. I think there's a huge misconception in America because they have set the standard that vodka is supposed to be odorless, colorless, and
flavorless.
tasteless. When in actuality, that's not really the fact. When you start delving into what vodka is, and when you start really understanding the spirit and the nuance of that spirit, you realize that it has a lot to do with the water source. It has a lot to do with the yeast that you use. It has a lot to do
Yeah.
with these things.
What
And
is the grain? Is it a
Only wheat.
this is wheat.
wheat? Okay.
Yeah.
Only. In Russia, we don't do any.
So your grain is
corn or
going to
anything.
play a part, but predominantly with vodka because of the way that it's distilled, because of the way it's filtered with charcoal, you're getting a very pure substance. So the minimal flavor that you're getting through is going to be highlighted with the water content that you use, with the yeast strain that you decide to use. You'll find vodkas that are incredibly yeasty, bready, like you were talking about, like rye bread, right? You were talking about putting them with pickled things where you get a little bit of that brine, that salinity. You're talking about putting them with other foods where that minerality from the vodka actually comes through and highlights what you're pairing it with. This particular vodka is one that breadiness is there without being overwhelming. That minerality is there without being overwhelming. It's a really beautifully balanced spirit. Probably one of the most balanced spirits I've had the opportunity to try. And whenever I think about putting it with, or putting a cocktail together with it, I don't want to hide those
Yeah, the
nuances.
vodka.
I really want to showcase
And
those nuances.
typically too, like with vodka, especially in Russia, like you're not mixing drinks with it, right?
You must be kidding me.
It's straight.
When you
straight.
mix it, people call you a pussy, so
Yeah.
they want to be called a pussy.
Which, I get.
Yeah.
But, you also...
Men's culture.
Yeah, yeah.
I come from a kind of a different
Yeah.
background, being in hospitality,
Yeah, yeah.
where you have
So you don't
guests.
call your customers pussies?
No,
when-
I do. I call them pussies
they're
all the
mixing.
time. No, it's fine.
Phil, is that a
Phil
form
is
of
the guy, yeah.
hospitality?
Mostly after shift, but.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
No,
After they take their
I will
money,
call
you
them. I will call them a pussy to their face. I have no problems with that. It's all in good fun, but at the same time, like I really feel that we have an opportunity, being in this industry, to help educate our guest base on what it is. Like when people come to me, for instance, and they're like, "I don't really know what I want. I'm just going to do a vodka soda."
Yeah.
My response to them is like, "Are you doing that because you know it's safe? Or are you doing that because that's really what you like to drink?"
Yeah.
And if it is what you really like to drink, like the vodka that you're choosing to mix with this soda, and the soda that I have specifically with these nuances and these flavors that do exist in the soda water, not the right vodka to have. And you get this chance to kind of turn them onto something that they wouldn't otherwise be turned on to, without them feeling that they're being told that they're wrong for liking something.
Yeah. And so Courtney, for those the people listening too, so you're partnered up with Zamir here on
Actually, 2 days ago, by pure coincidence.
there's a cruise, correct? Is that
Yes,
Yeah.
there is.
Is that can you talk a little bit about
Yeah, I'll tell you more because she's just a invited party.
Yeah.
So
I'm
first
literally
of all,
just attached to him like a barnacle
first
at this
of all-
point.
First of all, this is the breaking news. I just realized that I found Messiah for America. Look at Courtney.
That quite
Yeah, because she understands how to deliver the right news for Americans.
message.
I cannot do it. I
Oh,
have no
come on.
patience. I have no patience.
Get
It's okay. He's the face, I'm the brains.
Exactly.
It's totally
So
fine.
she helps my message be heard, right? So that's what Messiah is supposed to do.
Yeah, yeah.
Correct?
The
So in
messenger.
other words, I don't need the credit. She knows how to explain that you don't need black caviar unnecessarily.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need very expensive salmon, which the czars would have, right? Rank and file person like me and her could nicely do it in a way as a sandwich. Rye bread, a piece of spread or like a herring, something kind of salty and fleshy, right? Sort of that you never drink on the empty stomach. That's what you should probably say. Yeah, sardines,
Yeah.
well, an olive maybe, right? So first you have some food, because the food dilutes the alcohol.
Sure.
The more fatty, the less alcohol goes into your blood, correct? So that's another story. So we normally do dinners. That's what I'm thinking we might also do on the cruise. For the moment, we have an arrangement with the cruise people that according to the amount of people in my group who buy this package, there'll be X amount of cases bought, right? The more cases. So from this standpoint, we only have a deal for the moment that the minimum, absolute minimum, is an event which is called like tasting Zamir vodka with Zamir, and appetizers and
So are you going to be on?
and
each-
cocktails.
Cocktail
Yeah, that's
pairing.
You're
what-
going to be on the cruise.
Of course.
All right.
That's the whole point. And the cruise is not accidental. I really think this is the best time for me to pay a real tribute to Anthony Bourdain, my
Yeah.
mentor, who actually changed the world and changed myself for the last 18 years of
So,
my friendship.
and that's something I wanted to ask you about a little bit too. So I know that you started. We talked just briefly a few minutes ago about you being kind of a producer, if you will, or getting things done in other countries. How did you actually get involved with the show initially? Was it
With his
because
show.
they were going out there?
Yeah, by pure
or did you-
coincidence, when he was doing his first gig, actually one of the first gigs as a TV host, it was just a pilot basically.
Yep.
New York Times, his friends, camera people who pushed him to do this kind of a pilot, and it was Food Network who liked that pilot, and it was his show at that time called Cook's Tour. Not many people
Yeah,
remember.
Cook's Tour. Yep.
So Russia was one of the episodes, so he landed, and somehow the local fixer they had originally disappeared before even meeting them at the airport. So someone from New York who knew them and myself asked me to come over and help them, like as a sort of force majeure. So I didn't know who he was. I didn't know what really needed
Yeah.
to be done.
Well, he wasn't at the. He wasn't.
No, it
famous
was just
like he
Kitchen
was.
Confidential. The first time hit the you know, sort of the bookshelves, and that's how his name was known to some of the foodies, but not in Russia at all.
Yeah, yeah.
So once we met, broke the ice with the same vodka, not this one, but like Russian standard probably at that night, and
Yeah.
he openly told me, like confidentially, saying, you know, Zamir, I'm not very comfortable to be on camera, especially in the country where people don't understand English. So
Yeah.
how would I communicate? I said, I don't know.
Yeah.
It was not my mission. I was supposed to set it up. Access here, meet these people, get the recipe, at home dinner, whatever. That how about you step from behind the camera into the being my co-host?
Yeah.
I said, okay,
Huh.
that's how it started.
So that's amazing. So and I know from watching the show, I mean, I've watched a good amount of them. You're very good on camera. I mean, you've got a personality, which is.
And it helps people like Tony, because I mean, you have to think about indicatively.
Yeah,
you know, in this industry, you have
very
two
insecure.
kinds of people.
Yeah.
You have the people who are front of the house,
Yeah.
the bartenders
Exactly.
like myself,
In the back.
who are there to entertain and help
Yep.
to, you know, provide hospitality.
And then the
you
cooks.
have your back of the house, and they prefer to be out of that limelight. They
Exactly.
don't want people talking
And,
to them and asking
Yeah.
them
I,
questions.
he came from
I
there.
own a bar and I own a restaurant. I've worked in restaurants my entire life, so I'm in the same kind of situation. I always love the back of the house. I mean, even at my own place, I like to be in the kitchen sometimes more than I like to be up front.
You
But
see?
as the owner, I got to be the face of it.
Of
you know?
course.
So that's what struck me about Tony too, is that he did have a personality. He's very
He
like
did, but he was
introspective,
insecure.
very like reserved.
Reserved, I
not
think,
to
would be
play
a-
off the
Very,
no reservations,
very,
but.
I would say, there is like the people like myself who are more like extroverts. He
Yeah.
was an introvert.
An
right? So
introvert,
that's
for
how we
sure.
connected.
But for someone that was like that, I mean, the way he looked at the world was so impactful, and I think that's why that show kind of spoke to people so much, you know.
Yeah.
So as you were filming the show, I mean, you obviously kind of became friends with him too, right? As it went on, so
Yeah, you talk, you know.
he seems like a lot of my friends.
Yeah.
So I knew a lot of heroin addicts. I still know, unfortunately,
There's-
some
sadly,
people that
you
have
know-
that addictive personality, alcoholics, etc.
Sadly, it is rampant in our industry.
Yeah.
One of the things we spoke about at length was I'm really happy that we're getting to a point now where we can openly discuss addiction, where we can openly discuss discrimination, sexual assault, things like that. Like, these are things that have always taken place, but have not necessarily been spoken about.
Yeah.
And I think the year, for instance, the year that Tony died was such a huge loss to our community, but we also had 3 other people with like very prominent within our community who took their lives that year.
Yeah.
And I think that was kind of that time where we all stood up as a community and we're like, enough is enough. Like, we have to stop this.
What I find interesting too is that the people that I think there's a loneliness to finding beauty in the mundane, which he kind of did. You know, just going, having a drink or whatever, enjoying
It's a
these
form of-
these
it's a
countries
form
that
of art.
sometimes, you know, are a little rough around the edges, and finding the beauty in there. I think there's a loneliness in that that you feel
Yeah.
when you're there and you feel like you're the only one that kind of sees that, which is maybe what you know. I don't know him obviously personally, but you know, which I think that a lot of chefs tend to have that with food. You know, it's this mundane thing we all have to eat, and you create this beautiful, you know, meal, and someone else eats it and enjoying them enjoying your food, or same with the cocktails, you know,
Yeah.
watching them enjoying it.
It's
There's-
an artistic expression, and just like with any artistic expression, you have these individuals who see things from a perspective that maybe not everybody can understand, but they at times will support and will help to, you know, elevate. But I think all of us, regardless of how extroverted or how introverted, you know, like you were talking about back in the house, like I'm a very outgoing human being.
I love mopping. Is that a
And
weird thing? I
there
really
would
like
be
mopping.
times
I don't know why.
where, you know, there'd be an open availability for bar back, and I'm like, I want to just stay back here and polish glassware all my
Right.
Yeah.
There's
like I
something
will
really
do
calming
that
with that.
because there's something so calming
Zamir,
about
did you
that.
ever work in a restaurant?
No.
No. So
But I know what it's about.
been-
I mean, from his point of view, from some of my friends who own it.
yeah.
Throw me in dish. Like legitimately. Like there'll be nights where I'm just like I can't make the connection. Let me put my earbuds in, throw me in dish, I'll make sure that everything is clean. I just can't, regardless of how outgoing you are, like we have to make sure that we understand that there is this disconnect where you need a moment to just kind of recenter yourself, and there's nothing wrong with that. I think that in our industry, people expect us to live up to this expectation and be this person, be this celebrity or this personality.
There's something I had a conversation a while back about the need for me to be the entertainer in the situation, and I think that
exactly
happens a
the
lot,
case.
and a lot of people that are in the restaurant industry or in the hospitality field kind of have that, where they want to entertain, they want to make sure everyone
Yeah.
around them is happy, and there's something
We create the
something to
environment.
that
We
that's-
create the experience. And I look at it very much anytime we come in, I'm like, this is your stage. And you get to set the tone of what that stage looks like. And it's amazing to be able to get up on your stage and create this experience.
So Zamir, you said that kind of the cruise and the vodka and what have you is kind of a tribute, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, if you were to say something about Tony to the
Yeah.
world, what
So,
would that?
wait till the book is released. I don't want to.
Is that the last line of the book
repeat.
that I just asked about?
Yeah,
Is
they repeats like 9 chapters. And
you guys don't get anything for free, by the book.
Right, right.
yeah, Patrick, I'll sign it for you.
Okay,
You
perfect.
need to buy it.
Yeah, I do.
and,
I'll pay
yeah.
for the book and.
It's no free ride in my country. I'm joking. So I just don't want to talk about
And
it.
now, are you?
You see, you paid, so Chris
Look at
delivers.
you.
Don't want to
And how did
feel
he-
like you are under.
How did he know?
Chris has got the same shirt.
Yeah, because
as
we're.
you.
And Chris, would you mind showing what you sent
So his
to
shirt-
Anthony Bourdain via me the first time you approached me in Buffalo about
what is
8
this?
years ago? It was a very serious thing. He gave me one and said, "Bring
So-
one to Anthony."
Yeah.
And
So
just-
what people don't know that I'm holding here, and I guess you could see it on the camera, is it's a monkey riding a giant cock.
Yeah,
And
that's what I
it's-
call a
it's-
free ride. So.
Yeah.
That's what I call a Tuesday.
Is that?
Oh, okay. Ruby Tuesday, yeah, I think that's right.
So,
Right.
so where did you happen to find that, Chris?
Some very odd friends.
Chris is notorious with the odd community. That's why he's my spiritual advisor.
Excellent. So,
I don't like normal people.
yeah.
Like, not interested.
It's made from melted down rifle brass cartridges from the Sean Opium armies and the Golden Triangle.
Can you say that? Wait. Could you speak a little closer into the mic? You said it's,
Yeah, it's-
melted down. What?
It's made from melted down rifle brass cartridges from the Sean Opium armies in the Golden Triangle in like Thailand, Burma, Vietnam era. It's a charm against bullets and good luck and other things.
Huh. So so what's the significance of the monkey, and then secondly, or I
Well,
guess firstly,
virility,
what's
obviously.
the significance of the cock?
Yeah.
Artistic,
And when I say
Well-
cock, I don't mean like
Yeah.
the bird. I mean
A rooster.
like a phallus.
not a rooster.
No,
Yeah.
a big fat cock.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
what he's talking
Chris, what's the idea, please?
Oh, well, it's fertility and virility and also like you will prevail and not get shot by the other guy. Yours is bigger
Your
than
man-
You
theirs.
will live to reproduce.
I got you. So kind of like yours is bigger than the
Yeah, and it's served
than
me
the other
well.
guys. Has it? Has it
Yeah.
worked?
Yeah.
Oh, it's worked very well.
You've got. Do you have your own monkey, Zamir?
I
on your?
cannot carry because my wife wouldn't
Okay.
allow me.
Yeah.
She's like, absolutely not. Take
Right.
that off
I
right
just-
now.
He doesn't get Chris' story on this fertility. He thinks it's like advertising my availability. That's how Russian women look at it.
So Chris, Zamir said you're his spiritual advisor.
Yeah.
So how would you describe yourself in the
Chris,
same?
please, yeah. Don't be shy. He's normally very shy.
Well, I've also been known to describe myself as like the Paris Hilton of booze. Like seen everywhere, but he doesn't actually do anything, but
Right.
everyone thinks you're there, so you must be some sort of expert. So,
Well, you got to try some spirits and some stuff the last couple of days, right, at this
Yeah.
competition. So that's been good.
oh
for
yeah,
you.
well I've been working in the business for years, and I have, at the risk of a personal plug, I have a website, spiritsreview.com, where I write about booze and have, for years, so I've gotten sort of a following. And
Excellent. So spirit?
spiritsreview.com.
Yep.
So I consult with various people, and I go to all sorts of places and do judging and consulting and things like that, and that's how Zamir and I sort of got together, and
Yeah,
it was
and you-
downhill from there.
So you guys though have been kind of partners in crime with the vodka
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
venture too,
Instrumental.
right? So
Steering me to the right
Yeah, so
ingredients
you told-
locally.
you told me a kind of a story of where you guys were making it too, out in the middle of this
Middle of damn nowhere almost.
field. Yeah. So
Yeah.
can you is that a story you're allowed to tell here on the?
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, the federal government has already questioned us several times
well,
on this.
We're clean.
We talked a little bit because you're like, well, in Russia it's a little bit different, like business.
Yeah,
is a little
that's why I'm
different and what have you, right? And I said, well, the government in the U.S. is kind of the same here when it comes to alcohol and business.
course.
They've got their hands in everyone's pocket too. So, which led us to that story about where you're.
Yeah, well, he's kind of the Jesse Smollett of vodka, because I told him at the time, pay in cash, no cash, no, he pays with a check. We'll get back to that. in a
Save my
minute.
ass.
Yeah, so, no, because we started with someone who had a very, very large distillery in like literally the middle of nowhere. You'd like tell people to go out here, and they'd be like, no, you're kidding, right? No,
Yeah.
and they're like, no, take a left at the ice cream stand, and you go over the hill, and you keep looking, and you see something that looks like a couple of ICBM rockets on the ground, and that's the distillery.
Guys.
Anyway, it's this place in the middle of nowhere that was it was government funded for millions of dollars, and it was, I don't know how to describe, like kickbacks and influence, and it was not like it's supposed to be a real business, and this guy built it in the middle of nowhere, and we got involved because they offered us vodka very cheaply the way we wanted it, but you'd walk in and nobody would be there, and you'd literally like walk into the distillery and wave your hands at the security camera for 45 minutes before anyone would
Before
react
someone would
and
come
come out, so somehow we ended up with 200 bottles of vodka sample of 200 bottles that we packed into a car in a muddy ditch, and managed to get it away.
Saab was nearly like collapsing
Scraping.
after this load in the truck.
Yeah.
Poor Chris.
Yeah, and so we dragged that off, and we went to a party at someone's place I won't mention, and
Yeah.
it's about 3 o'clock in the morning when it looks like a bad war movie, when the radiator blows up and the radiator fluid is coming up over the windshield and all the gauges are spiking, and I'm like, no, I am not stopping in the middle of Rochester with 200 bottles of vodka with Zamir next to me and explaining this to a state trooper. So we got off the road and hid the car in an alley and went to a bar and called AAA and said, we'll be in the bar. That was,
So that's the birth of Zamir vodka.
Yeah.
Is
The
that
labor was
story.
hard.
yeah.
Well, nothing good comes easy.
No.
I
No.
guess Zamir, right?
Not with me.
That's kind of the way of the world, I think, too. As I get older, I start to realize that everything that gets made is kind of like in that way, So you said you're writing an autobiography. Are you personally writing it, Zamir?
Now I had to hire several ghostwriters
Okay.
whom I promised to have the names on the cover, which didn't help. The biggest problem was there was not my voice. So in other words, I was giving them different bits of material in English, mostly.
Yeah.
One guy was English Russian speaker, didn't help. So in other words, at the end of the day, when we were doing like several chapters, I couldn't recognize my voice. So why should I deliver something which is not really Samir's voice? So with the last guy, I hope, in Moscow, he's an American rock musician, ended up, fell in love, It seems that he's getting closer and closer, but we're still like having different struggles mentality-wise.
Sure.
He thinks should be this way. I think it should be my way. So that's where the creative egos clash. But hopefully the summer will accomplish.
And is the story of the birth of Zamir vodka?
Yeah,
Part
of it.
of that book. So that story really kind of hit home to me. Like starting a business is kind of like that car just breaking down in the middle of nowhere, the radiator, smoking vodka in the trunk. Like that's so many moments in starting up a business is kind of like that,
It actually went downhill from there.
No,
but-
did it? So it's gotten worse since then.
Well, depending on who you ask, because because this guy, we couldn't work with him anymore for various reasons, and we found out rapidly why, because we were doing a TV appearance, and we were driving down to Honeyhoy Falls, and they called Zamir, not me, and he goes to me, he goes, "Oh, Christopher Vladovich, good news, TGV wants to talk to us," and I thought,
thought
"Oh,
that's
TGV,
PBS.
Yeah, it's CBS,
Like three
PBS.
letters.
So I was like,
Yeah,
PBS,
some
okay,
TV show.
good,
Waiting for you. I said, oh,
Yeah,
how
no-
did they know?
Yeah, no problem. So, we drive into the distillery and we get there and our friend Adam runs out and he sticks his head in the car and says, "What the hell did you two do? There's a TTB agent, a federal
shit.
alcohol agent looking for you two." And so I'm like, I'm sitting there doing the math going, okay, I don't have my extra passport with me. I don't want to live in Venezuela because I'm friends with the people who make rum in Venezuela who have a special apprentice program for murderers and serious felons to become rum distillers. And I thought,
course.
this was not my idea of what I'm spending the afternoon. So I thought, well, I'm just going to go in here and see what happens. And so we walk in, and it looks like Agent Smith from The Matrix. I kid you not. He's got the suit. He's taken over the distiller's office. He's got the sunglasses on, and he slowly opens the folder and says, "Can you help us with our inquiries? Can you explain this?" And then he holds up Zamir's check in an evidence bag.
Like, why did you pay? What did you do with these people? I said, I ordered legally, officially, my samples. Chris Carlson was my attorney, kind of bodyguard, driver, masseur, everything. He can explain in bad English, so luckily Chris got it.
He left.
So Zamir gets up and leaves as soon as the evidence bag comes out.
Yeah, you talk to him.
So what did you end up saying? Did you say it's just a big misunderstanding?
I just said, well, they told us they didn't need any more money and we didn't need to pay taxes, and I didn't think it didn't sound quite right to me, but he's the distiller, so I deferred to his judgment, and so we had a sort of a long conversation and found out all sorts of things about the distilling operation there that were just frightening, and then. I like the part, he may not appreciate me saying this though, I like the part when I came out, because then the agent and I came out and we're both kind of laughing a little bit, and Zamir goes up to him and goes, "How did you find me?" And this guy is still in his Agent Smith mode. He's like, draws up to his full height and looks down through his sunglasses and just says, "We're the government."
Like, don't mess
Classic.
with us.
It's just-
He was driving from Philadelphia, so you can imagine.
Yeah, he drove up from Philadelphia that morning just to intercept him. So it shows when they care.
That's unbelievable. So I'm hoping now though that you guys you're distilling somewhere
clean.
a little different.
Yeah.
Did you go back to the original distilling facility and it was just vacant? There was just no one there anymore. All crickets and
So
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, it's nobody's there anymore.
some little
Nobody-
old lady like, "I have no idea what you're talking about. We don't distill anything here."
Yeah, exactly. No, they're like a milk production facility or something now. It's like Iraq. No.
Right. We don't know anything. We never heard anything about this.
Chemical weapons. No. Milk for infants.
So something else, Zamir, you brought up earlier too that I think I wanted to kind of touch base on too. I know that you were talking about a documentary of some sort on is it Anthony Bourdain's life that you wanted to do? Or was
indirectly,
it-
a friend of mine in Buffalo, well-established director of photography, Stephen Powell, who is freelance doing a lot of stuff for PBS and CBS and ABC and many other networks, history. he approached me by saying, at one of the events in Buffalo, actually, end of September, when I did fundraising for suicide prevention, Erie County Suicide Prevention Foundation with the vodka cocktails, and Coulter Bay owner was eager to help with all this process as fan of the show. So Steven was there and said, Zamir, how about trying to do a documentary, which could be a pitch for a TV series, about Tony's legacy and how you can try and continue, like show must go on kind of things. Discover or rediscover America or the world through his eyes, meaning like what did I learn and how do I apply it now? By going to either similar cities or countries or different, sit down with people, eat, drink, talk about life and figure out what legacy of Tony, what did they learn? Why do you like them and what do they remember about?
Yep.
So that's what we started in October. We just filmed in Russia as my background story, Motherland, and planning to continue in Buffalo this week again, and then Arizona, Mexico to see America today, like the walls might be back. The walls which were broken in Europe and in my country now, America is sort of stepping into the same
reestablishing
muddy
them.
waters. Yeah.
So let me ask you this. So I've never been to Russia. I'm sure some of the people listening to the podcast have never been to Russia. So maybe I guess you can shed a little light too on what I guess some misconceptions would be about Russia, and maybe what would you say is like some of the most beautiful things that you want to share about Russia, that maybe if Americans were going to visit there,
right?
What should they go see?
Well,
what should they do?
With all my love to Russian people, mainstream people, who are very hospitable, fun foodies and drinkers, at the same time they're a little bit, put it mildly, impregnated by the ex-socialism, communism ideas and stuff, and most of them still live in that dream world. Like
Of communism? Like they're still
some of them, the older
generation.
generation, not the younger ones, but the old ones. So for them, Putin is someone they need, like a man with an iron fist, like an iron rod or something, like a shepherd, and allow him to do what he wants to do without any control or any real interaction between the civil society, which doesn't exist. So that's what worries me, because any totalitarian leader, and Putin's been there for 19 years, not too many things done properly,
Right.
can hardly be the one to give freedom of choice to the country, right? Freedom of speech, freedom of consciousness.
Do you think he's trying to kind of bring back a little bit of like Stalin's like?
It's been happening for the last several years, especially after Crimea, 2014.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
all the
he's-
sanctions and like alienation between the East and the West. So we're coming back into the USSR, East versus West, unfortunately.
I think he's an interesting character because he knows the world stage and how the world sees Russia, and so I think he knows what he's doing. He's very intelligent, right? And he I guess is playing to that underlying romanticism about communism that exists there in Russia, right?
Yeah.
And is playing that up. So we talked a little bit about like the Gulag Archipelago last night and that sort of thing that was going on in Soviet Russia. Back in the day, and I think we touched base on like how it kind of resonates with some of what's going on in the U.S. now.
Yeah,
too.
in a way. So Putin and Trump probably would be the best friends if there were no, opposition to this.
Well, Trump's
yeah.
courting him now.
Trump loves him, and I'm not
He's
sure
buying him
Putin loves
drinks.
him back. But
He's buying him drinks. He's like,
I mean, it seems like
putting his hand on his knee. a
yeah,
little bit.
strange relationship, but Putin is definitely much smarter than Trump.
Oh, yeah.
And
Yeah.
would probably twist his arms and legs the moment there is
Right.
kind of a love affair happening or something in between them, which is a dangerous alliance. That's
So,
why I think.
do you think there's a fear right now because again, I have not been to Russia, but I mean, you probably know it way better than I would, and probably most of the listeners that are listening to this. But I mean, do you think there's a fear of it slipping back into almost like a Soviet style government?
Look at yourself. Look at America. I'm sure you find some similarities when Trump doesn't allow certain journalists to be invited for press parties or press releases. He won't let them question him on specific topics. He wants to do like Putin is doing, right? And Putin makes it very clearly, don't ask about this, like don't ask, don't tell, only ask about the positivity of what's going on and never question the negative part of the state misfunctioning.
Yeah, and I think too. I mean, there's two sides of the coin in America too, because you have the Republican side of it, which is the Trumpian mantra of that, you know, that part of it, the totalitarianism version of it. But then you also have the socialism side on the liberal or the left side of the house, where it's like, okay, well, let the government have more power over you know, healthcare, or have the government you know, do like a universal basic income. And I think what ends up happening with that is there's a non-nuanced understanding of how human beings work, right? Because yes, it's a great idea. Communism is a great idea. You know, everything's going to be equal. Everyone's going to be happy. There's this utopia out there, but the way that it works when it's actually implemented is way different than you know, what the dream is about it. You know?
Yeah, like any utopia, it doesn't really have any chances for fruition.
And part of the Gulag Archipelago, and I read that I don't know, a few months ago. What was impactful to me was, you know, the individual's part in that. You know, the willingness to go along with it. Okay, well, you know, in order for the better good, we've got to all just to get in line and let you know, let the utopia happen, and eventually everything will be good. And you know, that other guy, he's the one that's causing me to be not successful. I just the whole social experiment that played out there in the Soviet Union is super interesting to me. So
well, it failed, so I don't want to
Sure.
spend time on something which doesn't work. But if you look at yourself once again, the way I look at it as an outsider, as an alien, illegal alien, legal alien. So in Russia, we don't have middle class because the state is kind of afraid that once people make their own money, are entrepreneurs, have their own businesses, they don't depend on the state. That's what is the fear factor for Putin. He wants to have them on the radar screen, meaning that once you're poor, you will always like stay on your force waiting for the bone from your master. You won't criticize the master, right? He doesn't need that shit. Same way, look at US. Less and less among my friends, people who used to be strong middle class, now going a little bit down the line, money-wise, and unfortunately that destructs the system of checks and balances, the way I look. When three different power structures control the president, you know, like in Russia, unfortunately, it doesn't work. The court system is totally under the president's administration.
That's definitely not
so there is
good.
a line of direct line saying, okay, this guy should be given like 10 years imprisonment, no matter what his attorney is saying. So in other words,
or the evidence.
It's bad.
So something else I guess I wanted to touch base on, and I know this is, I don't necessarily want to ask you this. So did you have a lot of contact with Tony before, like that year? Like
you mean the last year?
Yeah. Like, was there anything that you know of that was kind of like he was struggling with something?
No,
it was...
I didn't have regular contacts. We were in touch on emails primarily, and I sent him the last email like June 1st when I actually was in Buffalo and loved the, it was not Singapore, it was like one of the Asian episodes when actually ICR Janti was directing, and a very famous cameraman he liked from feature films was invited as, you know, DOP, and that was probably one of the best shows. So he answered like in a very positive way, like, yeah, you know, thank you for kind of saying.
Yeah, that's what I heard too. Like,
so that was basically a week before, you know, things collapsed.
Interesting. So like, I think with depression too, it kind of happens like that, where there's these things, you know, like you're positive one minute and there's these big fluctuations in your emotional state.
Being, you know, ex-addict, ex-alcoholic, things could definitely come back, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, it's a big loss, you know.
It's huge loss for all of us.
Zamir, I really appreciate you being on the show.
Well,
The vodka has been delicious, and I feel like we're going to continue drinking this now. The rest of the
yeah, I
night.
mean that's the whole idea. But there is no hangover in the morning, so Monday.
None? This
No.
is guaranteed. So
That's why my name is there.
Zamir's guarantee you will not have a hangover if
Well,
you drink
the first
an
bottle
entire bottle.
sample when it was done, I drank it to my wife
And you
to
were
test ourselves. Nothing happened next morning.
All right.
Nothing bad.
Only good things in the morning.
At least you remember what you were doing.
Excellent. Well, I really appreciate you being on the show. Every one of my listeners here appreciate you being on the show, and I'm sure this won't be the last time we interact. I mean, and I want to send a formal apology to all my listeners here. Last night, it was a long day of drinking, and I accidentally spilled some wine on you. And I want to send a
actually.
formal apology. I bought you some desserts, I know.
Yeah, that helped a lot. So I have no scruples of
But I
course.
spilled some wine, and I'll say on the record, if you need some dry cleaning,
I'm good.
I've got it covered.
No, that's whole of my
Zamir.
life. I've been
And
getting the worst of possibilities, and I'm used to that.
and everyone that's out there. So I know there's a number of spots out in Buffalo and around the world that are selling your vodka here.
Yeah, at this point, since I'm like one-man band and I can't afford any big marketing, actually, any campaign on marketing, I
In New
just
York
do
City,
it
I'm
through-
sure it's available,
yeah,
right? I've got a
no,
lot of
not in New York
listeners
City
in New
because it's toughest market to get into for a small and limited batch producer like myself.
Mm-hmm.
So for the moment, it's available in basically this turf of mine: Buffalo, Rochester, Albany, Syracuse.
Excellent.
More in Texas pockets like Austin, College Station, Waco, a little bit in St. Louis and Kansas City, where I'm going for the next vodka tour next week after Buffalo, and a little bit in Detroit area like Lansing.
Okay.
Yeah, some kind of pockets. But I'm looking for investors. Hello, guys. So if you have like some
cash. on
money
hand.
in the bank and you don't know what to do with them, I will explain how we could intoxicate the bad people and make love and happiness for those who deserve it with the help of that simple product.
Excellent. Well, I wish you the best of luck. And any websites, things you want to just pimp out there that.
Well, most the information about the Vodka Geeks available at zamirvodka.com and the appearances page. Same as information on the cruise line for this October.
That should be cool.
Amazing
I
tour.
think I might have to go on one of those.
You
I've
know,
never been on a cruise. so-
Honestly, if I could just explain how
Yeah.
affordable it is, you will need to get your tickets from Rochester to Fort Lauderdale and back. If you have miles, it's very, very affordable. I already booked mine for Delta, and the two passengers cabin in with a window is $820 per person, covering all accommodation,
And what
food,
is that,
most
a
of the
week?
booze, and free entertainment for the whole nights,
Huh.
which includes my gig with Courtney and that amazing night. We're also working with Chris on the cultural one-day program in Havana because he has been there, knows some good spots for
Havana. I've never been to Havana.
rum, cigars, indulgence.
like a lot of fun.
You will see the Russian restaurant there. So the Soviet Union was very actively involved in, as I
Yep.
remember, in
Yep.
Cuba, Caribbean crisis. So it would be more like Cold War reconstructions with the help of
Yep.
very modern type of restaurants, bars, and very interesting places. So you only will have to pay for Cuban visa, $75 on top of it, and I think it's 36 as tips for the crew. Like 700 crew members will
Yep.
help you feel like
Yeah.
czars for 5 nights, 6 days. So don't hesitate.
That sounds fantastic. Fantastic. I think I might have to sign up, actually.
Yeah.
So again,
gonna
Zamir,
be fun.
thank you so much. Go out and buy Zamir vodka.
If you can find it, and hopefully next week we will have reinstalled shopping online, also available at zamirvodka.com, like where to buy.
Yep.
Shop online, and hopefully next week you'll have an option to buy it you don't live in the states I mentioned.
Yeah, I think that's probably a great business
Yeah, it
idea.
gives people a
'Cause-
chance to try something.
Yeah, I mean,
different.
if you could just order it online, I do everything online. If I
Might
could
be a
just-
bit too expensive because of the delivery, but
yeah,
it
whatever.
is what it is.
It's worth
Yeah.
the price on it. So, Zamir, thank you so much again, man, for
Patrick,
being on the
thank
show.
you
I
for
really appreciate it.
finding
Thanks
time to do it.
for spending the last couple of days with me. I mean, it's been
Yeah.
drunk, and I don't know if we'll remember.
no, I'm like jet lagging. So that's why I'm
50%
a
of
little
it?
bit, yeah, a little
Yeah,
bit slow
you're
than
coming
normal.
off a 10-hour flight from Russia, and
Yeah, like
what
2
time
days
is it?
ago.
What time is it in Russia right now?
It must be like
idea?
2 a.m.
2 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
And you've been going like a champ though.
Yeah.
Since 8
So-
a.m. drinking, tasting spirit. So, again, guys, this is Infiltrate Radio. Check out Zamir. I mean, just Google Zamir Goda, and you'll find.
Yeah, and don't leave
pretty much
country
everything.
without it.
Yep.
Infiltrate Radio.